إذا كنت تريد أن تكون على مذهب السلف تعلم مذهب السلف.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. So we're going to carry on with our Aqīdah lesson, the Aqīdah of Al-Sunnah wal-Jama'ah by Ibn Al-Uthaymeen rahmatullahi alayh. So we discussed previously the istiwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the ulu of Allah, the fawqiyya of Allah, that Allah Jalla Jalaluh is above His creation. Is above His creation. And today we're going to carry on discussing a similar topic, which is the maji of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the ityan of Allah, that Allah comes, the coming of Allah. So the Shaykh rahmatullahi alayh, he goes on to say, وَنُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّهُ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى يَأْتِي يَوْمَ الْمَعَادِ لِلْفَصْلِ بَيْنَ الْعِبَادِ لِقَوْلِهِ تَعَالَى كَلَّا إِذَا دُكَّتِ الْأَرْضُ دَكًّا دَكًّا وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا وَجِيءَ يَوْمَئِذٍ بِجَهَنَّمَ إلى آخر آيات. So he says that we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come on Yawm al-Ma'ad, Yawm al-Qiyamah, will come to distinguish between His servants. And that is due to the statement of His, where He says, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ وَالْمَلَكُ صَفًّا صَفًّا, and your Lord comes with the angels in rows. So this mention here of وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, this is the maji of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will come, will come forth to judge between His servants. Now, and Shaykh carries on, he says, now, that's what he mentioned in regards to the maji and the ityan. So we're going to briefly go through the explanation, which is what Shaykh Salih al-Fawzan Hafidhahullah ta'ala, that he mentions this topic, and he speaks about the maji and the ityan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he says, وَمَجِيئُهُ وَإِتْيَانُهُ سُبْحَانَهُ مِنْ صِفَاتِهِ الْفِعْلِيَّةِ يَجِبُ إِثْبَاتُهُمَا عَلَى حَقِيقَتِهِمَا. So he goes on to say, he says that the maji of Allah and the ityan of Allah, the coming of Allah, is from those attributes that are fi'liyah. Those attributes that are fi'liyah. And he says that we must affirm them upon their true meaning, upon their reality. وَلَا يَجُوزُ تَأْوِيلُهُمَا بِمَجِيءِ أَوْ إِتْيَانِ أَمْرِهِ كَمَا يَفْعَلُهُ نَفَاتُ الصِّفَاتِ. فيقولون وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ أي جاء أمره وهذا من تحريف آيات الله. So he says, and it is not permissible to distort these texts, to distort these attributes, the maji of Allah and the ityan of Allah, by saying that it is the coming of His affair or His order, as those who negate the sifat, that they say that when it's mentioned here وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, and your Lord came, they say that this is with regards to the amrullah, the affair of Allah, or His order, His command, in regards to the command of Allah. So they say Allah's, they translate this ayah as your Lord's order has come. So they've made ta'weel of it. They've made a false interpretation of this ayah. So the Shaykh says, and this is from making tahrif of the ayat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to distort the ayat of Allah. Then he quotes from Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah, he says, وَالْإِتْيَانُ وَالْمَجِيءُ الْمُضَافُ إِلَيْهِ سُبْحَانَهُ نَوْعَانِ مُطْلَقٌ وَمُقَيَّدٌ. So he says the ityan and the maji of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are of two types. When it is mentioned in the Quran that this ityan and this maji, this coming or coming forth, that the mention of it is of two types. The first one is restricted, and the second one is unrestricted. Or the opposite rather. The first one is unrestricted, the second one is restricted. فإذا كان المراد مجيء رحمته أو عذابه ونحو ذلك قيد بذلك كما في الحديث حتى جاء الله بالرحمة والخير. So it says that if the intent behind this maji, behind this coming, is the rahmah of Allah, or the punishment of Allah, or anything of the sort, then it would have been connected or mentioned in the ayah, or connected to Allah. It wouldn't have been Allah being mentioned here unrestrictedly, without anything as a prerequisite or anything to come before it. As they claim, they say that the ayah here, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, and your Lord came, they say that this means that His order has come. His order has come. And if this had been the case, then it would have been mentioned in the ayah. It would have been restricted to this. It would have been mentioned within the ayah itself. Whereas here, it is simply just, it is simply just unrestricted. Allah is mentioned here alone, without anything else being connected to it. And He is unrestricted here, mentioned in the ayah. So likewise, He says, as it comes in the hadith, حَتَّى جَاءَ اللَّهُ بِالرَّحْمَةِ وَالْخَيْرِ, until your Lord comes with rahmah and with khayr. وَقَوْلُهُ وَلَقَدْ جِئْنَاهُمْ بِكِتَابٍ فَصَّلْنَاهُ عَلَى عِلْمٍ, and that we have come to them with a book, that we have clarified it upon knowledge. So we have come to them with a book, with something, and this thing here is mentioned clearly in the ayah. النوع الثاني, the second type, الاتيان والمجيء المطلق, that this coming, this ityan and this maji, that is unrestricted. So the first type was that it was restricted, the second is that it is unrestricted. فهذا لا يكون إلا مجيئه سبحانه وتعالى. So this doesn't come in the text anywhere, except that the intent of it is that the actual coming of Allah Himself subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not His affair or His order, or as they try to distort it and say His affair, His order, His rahmah, His adhab. No, that this is the actual coming of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. كقوله هل ينظرون إلا أن يأتيهم الله في ظلل من الغمام وقوله وجاء ربك والملك صفا صفا. So that is due to the statement, do they await that Allah Himself should come down to them in canopies of cloud? And the second ayah that we mentioned before, and your Lord comes with the angels in rows. So this maji here that is mentioned in these ayat is the maji, and can only mean, in terms of the linguistics, could only mean the actual maji and the ityan and the coming forth of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and not His affair, and not His order, or His rahmah, or His adhab, as they try, those who negate the sifat, try to distort the text and claim. They try to claim that when it's mentioned maji in the Quran, that it only means that it doesn't mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is coming, it means that His order is coming. Whereas we say no, it's of two types. There are two types of maji that is mentioned in the Quran. There are two types of this coming forth that is mentioned in the Quran. One of them is unrestricted, when Allah is only mentioned. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, and your Lord came. And there's nothing else mentioned in the ayah. وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ, your Lord came. So therefore Allah here is mentioned unrestrictedly. So therefore it can only mean Allah Himself coming. Allah Himself coming forth. Whereas if it is connected to something else, as they claim, or those who negate the sifat try to claim, then it would have been mentioned in the ayah. It would have been mentioned in the ayah or the hadith, like we just gave an example of. حتى جاء الله بالرحمة والخير, until your Lord comes with al-rahmah or al-khayr. So it would have been mentioned, it would have been restricted to these things. However, when it has come unrestrictedly, without any mention of these affairs, then therefore it can only mean the maji and the ityan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the coming of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then Shaykh Salih Al-Uthaymeen, Muhammad bin Salih Al-Uthaymeen rahmatullahi alayh, he goes on to mention, وَنُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى فَعَّالٌ لِمَا يُرِيدُ. And we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does whatever He wills. وَنُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّ إِرَادَتَهُ تَعَالَى نَوْعَانِ. And we believe likewise that the the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is of two types. Is of two types, which we're going to discuss in quite some detail, but the Shaykh mentions it here briefly. He says the first type is kawniyah, and the irada, the intent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is kawniyah. That is kawniyah. That is the first type. And then he gives a ta'rif for this irada that is kawniyah, definition for this irada that is kawniyah. He says يقع بها مراده ولا يلزم أن يكون محبوبا له وهي التي بمعنى المشيئة. So he says that it occurs, that this irada occurs, the intent of it occurs, and it does not mean that it is something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, or is something that He likes to occur. And it is the same as the meaning of al-mashi'ah, Allah's will. Same as Allah's will. That's the first type, that is kawniyah. And then he brings an evidence for that. كقوله تعالى وَلَوْ شَاءَ اللَّهُ مَا اقْتَتَلُوا وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَفْعَلُ مَا يُرِيدُ. Had Allah so willed, they would not have fought one another. But Allah does whatever He pleases. So this type is kawniyah, the irada, the intent of Allah, or the wanting of Allah, that is called al-kawniyah.
Universal.
Universal could be translated as na'am. That it is something that, as the Shaykh explains here in the definition, that its intent takes place, it happens, but it does not have to be something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, or something that is or that He likes. For example, as is mentioned in the ayah, killing one another is not something that is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but it takes place. But it takes place, and Allah willed it to take place. Even though it's something that is not necessarily loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to happen, but it takes place now, and that is, and its intended meaning here is al-mashi'ah, the will of Allah. طيب. The second one we have, which is al-shar'iyyah, this irada, which is al-shar'iyyah. And the Shaykh goes to give the ta'rif likewise. لا يلزم بها وقوع المراد ولا يكون المراد فيها إلا محبوبا له. So this intent here does not actually have to take place. It does not actually have to take place. And that the intent behind it is nothing but that which is loved by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. كقوله تعالى والله يريد أن يتوب عليكم. That Allah wants to grant tawbah upon you or for you. So here the Shaykh mentions some differences. We're going to go into more detail with regards to the actual differences between the two. But the important point to note here is that there are two types of this irada, of this intent of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first being kawniyah, the second being shar'iyyah. And with kawniyah we said that it takes place, it has to take place. And likewise, it is not necessarily something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves to take place. The second one is that it has to take place, the shar'iyyah. It has to take, it does not have to take place. It does not have to take place, it does not have to actually happen. And it is only beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's only something that Allah loves, an affair that Allah loves. We're going to give examples later on in more detail as well to discuss this. And then Shaykh goes on to say, وَنُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّ مُرَادَهُ الْكَوْنِ وَالشَّرْعِ تَابِعٌ لِحِكْمَتِهِ فَكُلُّ مَا قَضَاهُ كَوْنًا أو تعبد به خلقه شرعا فإنه لحكمة وعلى وفقة الحكمة سواء علمناه منها ما نعلم أو تقاصرت عقولنا عن ذلك. طيب. So he goes on to say that we believe that these two types of intent or irada, that they are due to a wisdom. They are due to a wisdom. And everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained upon His servants, or that which His servants worship Him with, then therefore it is due to a a wisdom. It is in accordance to a wisdom. Whether we are aware of that wisdom or whether our intellects limit us, so we are not aware of that particular wisdom in that affair. Then Shaykh Salih Fawzan, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, we're going to mention briefly what he discussed with regards to this affair and the differences he gave. He said, الإرادة الكونية قد يحبها الله ويرضاها وقد لا يحبها ولا يرضاها. So he says that he says, طيب. So these are the differences that he gave. He gave three differences. Three differences between the two types that we discussed. He said the first difference is that the irada that is kawniyya, this intent that is kawniyya, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it could be an affair that is beloved to him and that he is pleased with, and likewise it could be an affair that he does not love or is not pleased with. والإرادة الشرعية لابد أنه يحبها ويرضاها فالله أراد المعصية كونا ولا يرضاها شرعا. So as for this irada that is shar'iyya, then it is a must that Allah loves this affair and is pleased with it for it to take place. So he gives an example here. He said that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that he intended and he willed for ma'asiyah, for evil actions, that he willed and intended for evil actions. However, in the kawn to happen, in this universe. However, he is not pleased with them, shar'an, in terms of the legislation. He is not pleased with them. However, he intends for that to take place. Because had he not intended for that to take place, then it would not take place. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intends for it to take place. However, it is something that is not pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah is not pleased with al-ma'asiyah, with disobedience. Allah is not pleased with that. However, it's something that Allah has intended to take place. And like Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahmatullah alayhi mentioned, that it is due to a wisdom. So it is often due, or always due to a wisdom. Whether we are aware of that wisdom or we are not aware of the wisdom, for it to have taken place, it is due to a wisdom. So that's the first difference between the two types of al-irada, of this intent, the irada of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The first difference between the two types. Second difference he mentions, وَالْإِرَادَةُ الْكَوْنِيَّةُ مَقْصُودَةٌ لِغَيْرِهَا كخلق الإبليس وسائر الشرور لتحصل بسبب ذلك المجاهدة والتوبة والاستغفار وغير ذلك من المحاب. So he said this irada that is kawniyah, that other than it is intended by it. Other than it is intended by it. So he gives an example to that, such as the creation of Iblis. The creation of Iblis, and likewise the creation of other evils, in order for a person to strive hard and to make tawbah and to make istighfar and other than that from the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. So it is intended by it, other than it. So other than it is intended by it. So the creation of Iblis and these other evils that are present, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created those things, and the intent of it is not within it itself. The intent behind its creation, is so that we can strive, and so that we can make tawbah, and so that we can make istighfar. And other than that, from the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. طيب والمرادة الشرعية مقصودة لذاتها. طيب, as for the irada that we mentioned, the other type, which is الشرعية, then the intent is within itself. يعني that Allah intends that specific thing itself, not the outcome of it, but that specific thing itself. As an example, فالله أراد الطاعة كونا وشرعا وأحبها ورضيها. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He intended, يعني, or that He wants الطاعة, obedience, كونا وشرعا وأحبها ورضيها, يعني, and that He loves that, يعني, He loves for His slaves to be obedient, and He is pleased with that. So that's the second difference. That this irada that is kawniyah, that the intent behind it, as we mentioned, like the evils that are found within this dunya, yani the intent behind it is not the intention of evil itself. And we do not attribute this to Allah, that Allah intended the evil itself. Rather, the intent behind this creation of the evil is what? So that yani the people will abstain from it. The people will make tawbah if they fall into it. People will make istighfar if they fall into it. And other than that, from the things that Allah loves. Yani Allah didn't create this evil just for the sake of creating the evil. It's not intended by itself. Rather, other than it is intended by its creation. Other than it is intended by its creation. From those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves. As for the irada that is shar'iyyah, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that is shar'iyyah, then the intent behind it is that thing itself, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created that thing, yani, with the intent of creating it for itself, such as obedience. Such as obedience. That Allah loves obedience and He is pleased with obedience. So therefore the creation and the wisdom behind the creation in that is, yani, is intended for itself or by itself. Whereas the creation and the wisdom behind the creation of evil is that is not Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He created evil, did not intend for the evil itself, but rather intended to create the evil in order for other than it. Yani, so that the slaves will be obedient to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and if they fall into that evil, then they can make tawbah and istighfar, and other than that, from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves, those things that are beloved to Allah. So that's the second difference. The third difference, الإرادة الكونية لا بد من وقوعها والإرادة الشرعية لا يلزم وقوعها فقد تقع وقد لا تقع. The irada that is kawniyah, يعني this irada that we said that is kawniyah, then it has to take place. Is a must that it takes place. Whereas the irada, the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that is shar'iyyah, then it does not have to necessarily take place. It could take place and it could not take place. Like we mentioned previously in the ayah that the Shaykh quoted, وَاللَّهُ يُرِيدُ أَن يُتُوبَ عَلَيْكُمْ, that Allah intends to make, يعني, to forgive you all, for you to repent to Him. So that He can forgive you all. But in reality, this is something that Allah, yani, the meaning behind this is that Allah loves, يعني, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبْ أَن يَتُوبَ عَلَيْكُمْ. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبْ أَن يَتُوبَ عَلَيْكُمْ. يعني Allah loves to grant you all tawbah. However, in reality, it hasn't taken place, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't grant tawbah to all of His ibad. Is that clear? That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't grant tawbah to all of His servants. Only a select, a bunch from amongst His servants. So the meaning here is that Allah loves to grant you all tawbah, but in reality is an affair that hasn't taken place and doesn't take place. Because we know that not everyone, and even from those who make tawbah, that not everyone's tawbah is accepted. And not everyone's tawbah is accepted. And Allah doesn't grant tawbah upon the whole of His creation or for the whole of His creation. So the meaning here is that Allah loves for you or to grant you all tawbah. But in reality it is something that doesn't take place. Even though it is mentioned with the word arada, it's from the irada of Allah. It's from the will of Allah or the intent of Allah. But it does not necessarily have to take place. This is the third difference. Now, طيب. The third thing we're going to discuss briefly is that so Shaykh carries on to say وَنُؤْمِنُ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ تَعَالَى يُحِبُّ أَوْلِيَاءَهُ وَهُمْ يُحِبُّونَهُ قُلْ إِن كُنتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهَ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهُ. That we believe likewise that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves His awliya, and they love Him. As is mentioned in the ayah, say, if you truly love Allah, then follow me. Allah will love you. So it's this attribute, this sifatul muhabba, this attribute of muhabba, that Allah yuhib wa yuhab, that Allah loves and He is loved. Allah loves and He is loved. So this sifatul muhabba, this is from our aqīdah and from the affairs that we affirm. That Allah yuhib wa yuhab, that Allah loves and He is loved. That He loves and He is loved. Shaykh Salih Al-Fawzan Hafidhullah, he mentions الرد على من سوى بين المشيئة والمحبة وقال إنهما متلازمان فكل ما شاء الله فقد أحبه. So he mentions a rad upon the one who he makes equal the mashi'ah of Allah, the intent of Allah and Allah's muhabba. So he says that everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills, then He loves it. Everything that He intended to take place and that He willed to take place, then He loves it. There are those from amongst Ahl Bid'ah with this claim. And as we discussed previously when we mentioned the irada, that's why we categorized it into two types. And we mentioned the differences between them. And like we discussed as well, that not everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wills and intends to take place, that necessarily is something that is beloved to Him. But there is a reason behind that. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about. As we mentioned, such as the creation of Iblis, the creation of evils, death, and the killing amongst insan, that all of these things are not something that we can say that is beloved to Allah. وَالْعِيَاذُ بِاللَّهِ, that we say ma'asiyah is something that Allah loves, that this disobedience and this killing is something that is beloved to Allah. No, of course not. Even though Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended it to take place. Because if Allah hadn't have willed it, it would never have taken place. So it's from those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala intended to take place. However, it is not something that is beloved to Allah. And that's why we distinguish between the two. Whereas there are those from amongst Ahl Bid'ah who say that everything that Allah intends to take place and wills to take place, then it is that which He loves to take place. It is that which He loves to take place. Which in reality is a dangerous statement. Because then we are saying that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without doubt, if you ask them, did Allah intend for ma'asiyah to happen, or for killing to happen, or for fulan to be killed unjustly? They say, of course He did. And if it happened, then it is due to the mashi'ah of Allah, it's due to the will of Allah. So we asked them, so does this mean that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loved for that to take place? Loved for the ma'asiyah to take place? No, of course not. So therefore there is a clear difference. نعم وقد قدمنا أن في ذلك تفصيلا فقد يشاء الله ما لا يحبه ككفر الكافر وسائر المعاصي وقد يشاء ما يحب كالإيمان وسائر الطاعات. So likewise as preceded us, as we mentioned previously, that in that is a difference to distinguish between the two, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He may will for something which He does not love. He may will for something to take place, something that He does not love, like the disbelief of a kafir. Kufr is not something that is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not something that is beloved to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. However, He has willed it to take place. So this is a clear refutation upon the one who makes equal the mashi'ah, this will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and muhabbah. So they say everything that has taken place, then it has to only take place by Allah's muhabbah, by that which Allah wills. And then you have those who negate the sifah of muhabbah, completely negate it, and they say that Allah la yuhib wa la yuhab, that Allah doesn't love and He is not not loved. So they negate this sifa in totality. So they say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because obviously they try to avoid with their limited intellect falling into a tashbih, as we mentioned previously. This is where a lot of Ahl al-Bid'ah wa al-Dalalah have gone astray, is because they're trying to avoid delving into a tashbih, making a resemblance between Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His creation. So they say if the creation has muhabba and the creation can love and be loved, then we have to remove Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from this. Because if we describe Allah with this, then we are attributing to Him naqa'is, those things that are deficient and those things that are from the creation. And they reject it outright, and they say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala la yuhib wa la yuhab, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't love nor is He loved. And we find in reality in the Quran itself is a clear refutation of them, as the ayah that we mentioned that Shaykh quoted, قُلْ إِن كُنْتُمْ تُحِبُّونَ اللَّهِ فَاتَّبِعُونِي يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهِ. So say, if you truly love Allah, so that shows that Allah yuhab, that Allah is loved. If you truly love Allah, فَاللَّهُ yuhab, then Allah is loved. فَاتَّبِعُونِي, then follow me. يُحْبِبُكُمُ اللَّهِ, then Allah will love you in return. So this shows, is clear refutation that Allah yuhib wa yuhab, that Allah loves and He is loved. That Allah loves and He is loved. And many other ayahs, even the Shaykh mentioned here as well, many of them. وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الصَّابِرِينَ, that Allah loves those who are patient. وَأَحْسِنُوا إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And other than it, from the ayat that Allah speaks about this muhabba of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Shaykh is affirming that from our aqīdah is that we believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that He loves and He is loved. That He loves and is loved. And in that are many evidences from the Quran and the Sunnah, as we discussed just a few, for those who negate this attribute of muhabba. Likewise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also hates. Allah also hates. Which is what we're going to discuss next time, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.